They don't have to be fiduciaries no more.
So now, but if they say they are, then they are, or they can kind of fudge that a little.
Ooh, great question. So I wrote on here as I look. For anybody who follows me after this show, I am going to send them the written promise that I give my clients as a fiduciary in terms of what does a fiduciary promise look like. So the consumer, because people let's talk about this for a second. People don't know what a fiduciary is. Majority of people don't know. They don't even know what to ask. So can you think about going to a doctor and his incentives being tied to the number of surgeries that he does or the number of prescriptions that he writes? It shouldn't be like that in the financial industry.
So now, if you recommend them, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but that would be a question to ask your financial advisor.
Oh,
that should be pretty quickly in the relationship. You should find out where the incentives lie, and if they do have fiduciary responsibility.
Oh man, that you know what? If people can get one thing from me today, and by the way, don't just ask. You know, some of my attorney friends, they said, Joe, if it's not in writing, it doesn't mean anything. Mm-hmm. So don't just ask, get it in writing. Mm-hmm. Get it in writing, get that commitment, get that promise. Because if not, then you really have you're limited in terms of the protections that you have as a consumer. I would say you have a whole lot more protections when you deal with somebody who has a legal obligation to what's in your best interest, somebody who doesn't.
Now, where does kind of fee-only advice come in?
So fee-only advice is, again, in line with the fiduciary standard. Fee-only advice, there's different definitions on that because you have the CFP board, they have one definition of that, and then the rest of the industry has another definition of that. I can give you my perspective on what I think fee-only is, okay? Fee-only is you do not charge people based on transactional business. Mm-hmm. Okay. So, if every time I buy and sell something to you, I make money, I have a conflict of interest,
right? That
I need to disclose to you up front in terms of how I do my business. Mm-hmm. Okay. If I am a fee-only advisor, I can make 100 trades in an account and the client still is going to pay the same percentage that they pay. Mm-hmm. Which is really how I run my personal practice.
So now, when you're working with your clients, walk me through what that initial kind of onboarding looks like. Are they coming? I would imagine your clients are coming to you because they had a financial advisor and now they're moving to you, rather than they've never had one. But maybe that's incorrect.
Yeah, great. That's a great question. So I would say the majority of clients that I meet have already an existing relationship. Every now and then I'll run into someone who maybe was doing it all themselves and then decide finally to hire the help of a financial planner or a financial advisor. Here's the thing. I have a process in my practice where it doesn't matter who it is. Before a client spends $1 with me, I'm going to develop for them a written financial plan. Now, I spent, well over a decade working for some of the biggest Wall Street firms, and people used to call me, for the purposes of radio and keeping it, polished, not intelligent, for doing that. Mm-hmm. And I always felt like if I was going to a financial plan, I would want to see what they can do first.
Right.
And I wanted them to show me value. And believe it or not, man, I'm really proud of that process that I've developed. So I develop a written financial plan for every person that walks through my door. I give them the results of the plan. And people say, Joe, you're not afraid that they're going to take that work and take it somewhere else? I'm like, look, if I'm dealing with that type of person, I don't know if I want to work with that person for the next 20, 30 years.
Right.
So it's okay if they leave. Well, 85% of the people that I take through that process, they become clients.
So now the process, what is it the same process for everybody? Everybody gets the same questionnaire to fill out? Or is it something that you see, okay, your goals are the ABC, so you get the ABC financial plan, or yours is DEF, so you get a different plan?
Yeah, great question. So every individual is different. So the financial plan should be customized to every individual. So every plan that I have is different than the next plan.
Right. It's not a choose
cookie
from
cutter.
These 3 menu items. and then that's the category you fall into.
Yeah, exactly. Which is one of the other reasons why I left, the big machine, because it was kind of like, either you fall into these four widgets, or, that's the way you got to do it, because we say so. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, every person has a customized plan with their own custom needs. Obviously a person who, may have, I don't know, $500,000 in investable asset, their situation may be totally different than someone who has $10 million.
Mm-hmm.
They have different situations, different opportunities, and different type of risk. But here's my thing. My job is to let the client know this is everything you have access to. This is what I recommend, and this is why. But at the end of the day, I always tell my clients this: you're the CEO, I'm the CFO. So, I came up, I had some great mentors, and I had some mentors that were not the greatest. And the mentors that I had that were the best, they led their clients. And then I had some mentors that were also very successful, that ran their business like a dictator, and that wasn't really my style. I don't like to, I know a little bit about finance, right? I know a little bit about financial planning. I've been around the block, but at the end of the day, I see myself as like an everyday guy helping everyday people.
Mm-hmm. So now, what are some of the components of a financial plan? You mentioned the word risk a minute ago.
Yeah.
Everybody, not everybody, but a lot of people think, oh, I take risks. And then if you ask them, well, okay, if you lost 30% of your net worth tomorrow, are you still good with that? And then they would say, no, I don't want to ever do that. And it's like, well, then it's hard to really take risk if you're not willing to put the money actually on the line. So how do you kind of discern if they really can handle the ups and downs of the volatility of the market, as opposed to they say they can?
Man, let me tell you, that is a phenomenal question. One that I did not submit, by the way. I don't think I submitted that question. So that's a phenomenal question. Let me tell you why that question is important. A rising tide lifts all boats. A lot of people comfortable right now. A lot of people feel really
they
good.
have a good system.
Yes,
their system is killing it right now.
They're doing well, man.
It's like Mike Tyson said, everybody has a good plan until they get punched in the face.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. So look, I'll tell you this. I'll give a real life example. I'll come back and answer that question. So a lot of I would say a lot, but some people have called me and say, hey, Joe, market's up 25%. How come my portfolio is only doing this? Maybe he's up 10% on a moderate portfolio or something like that. Well, so this is part where the media doesn't really do us a good job educating us as consumers, which puts Wall Street in a position of advantage. It gives them an opportunity to do the right thing or take advantage of the situation. So the S&P 500 is one asset class out of 19. So if you were making the same amount of money as the S&P 500 right now, you got to remember that during a financial crisis, and I should probably throw some sort of disclosure in here because it is a radio show. I'm just, past performance is not indicative of future results and all that other good stuff. But anyways, during the financial crisis, the S&P 500 was down over 50%. In the middle of the financial crisis, actually was down even a lot more than that, right between 50 and 60. So, I mean, look what happened with this stuff with Iran. I mean, who got the memo on that? Again, this is not a political thing. I'm just saying things happen. Okay, it could be that. It could be something else. So if something made 25%, then you got to recognize that, what, when the market is in a downturn, well, that thing is going to go down, significantly. Then if you had your money spread out amongst 19 different asset classes, then it would have dampened your risk significantly. Now, let me go back and address the question that you asked me about how this relates to clients' specific situations. This is so important. I can't tell you how many times I meet clients that said, Joe, listen, I'm not afraid to take risk. I want to shoot for the fences. Like, I'm young right now, by young, like mid-40s or whatever. I could take big risk. I said, okay. They answer the questionnaire and it comes out risky. So most of the time what they say, they come out as, okay. Sometimes they say they're this, but then they come out as this. Sometimes when the market's making 25%, they forget that they're conservative and they want to be aggressive all of a sudden.
Right. They want to catch up.
Right. So here's the thing. The return on a portfolio, including the risk on the portfolio, should be driven by the client's investment objectives.
Right.
Okay. So if a client can reach 100% of their goals, taking 20% less risk, whatever the percentage is, if they can reach 100% of their goals by taking less risk, which that's what the financial plan is for. It's data. Okay. So when that happens, then you can start now making educated decisions about the risk that you're taking for the reward that you're getting.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I tell clients that, look, for a lot less risk, we can still fund 100% of your goals. Here's the statistics. Here's the data. Do you still want to take 20% more risk for, a half of 1% more? Wow, Joe, I didn't know that. So it's all relative to the plan. And another thing is, a lot of times, in the finance industry, people call themselves financial planners, financial advisors, and they use the financial plan as a sales tool. And, if anything, for me, it's the backbone of the relationship.
Right, because then you know what true north is. You know what they're trying to go. Otherwise, you're
Yeah.
just kind of just whatever the mood the market's in. That's what you want, more of that or less of that, and that's not a really good way